my partner is Keith Hammer. He does a whole nother YouTube channel himself, and he's our expert with these Texas license plates. The city is just flooded with these plates that you could. I know they changed it a little bit, but you just go online and get these license plates.
Yeah.
Is it a problem there as well, or no?
It is. It is. It is.
Ah,
Yes. Yes.
it's a big problem here, man.
Yeah. And that's what that's what drove me to write that book. I was probationary officer. I'm taking so many of these service calls that just come out. It's like, hey, there's a car here. It's been sitting for a week, 2 weeks, and they know that the people who call, they know it's stolen. And I show up because that's the type of call that the probationary officer takes. And I just kept noticing all of these cars had these temp tags. And so I'd read the tag. I put the 28 out over the air, and it would come back either to a different vehicle or it come back, hey, it's not in the database.
Yes.
So then I got to run it by VIN.
Mm-hmm.
And so finally, after probably the 10th or 12th one, it finally started to click. I was like, I'm like, this has to be a crime. Like, every single time these cars are stolen, and every single time they have these fake tags, I'm like, it has to be a crime. I didn't know if it was, had to be a crime. So I started looking through, Texas transportation code, Texas penal code. And sure enough, I found it. I was like, hey, guess what? It actually is a crime. And so I start kind of working, and actually got a lot of pushback at my department for it, because no one had ever made any arrests for it. Mm-hmm. And so I initially started off in Texas transportation code and found that it was a Class B misdemeanor.
Okay.
So I started doing a whole bunch, catching people for that. And then there were some people I had that had multiple, like they had just 5 or 6 in their trunk. And I was like, man, again, there has to be something else with this. So then I found a correlating charge in penal code for the possession of multiple, the manufacture of them, which actually ended up being a state jail felony out here in Texas.
Okay.
And so I start making those arrests. And at first people were looking at me weird. Like, what is it? It was called tampering with government record, falls under that charge. And people were looking at me weird for it at first, but then it started to catch on.